The 83 C10, ironically, is the same year I graduated from high school, so it's got a little bit of sentimental value since it's 40 years old and I just missed my 40-year high school reunion. But I've wanted a kind of a vehicle to work on, something that I grew up with. I had two early 70s Chevy K5 Blazers that were my first two vehicles, and I've always loved these old trucks. Now that I'm in my 50s, fast forward, the vehicles that I had back in the 70s were kind of what everybody wanted back then, and now at my age, now in the 50s, these C10 square bodies are kind of becoming all the rage and are really becoming quite valuable. But I got it as a project vehicle. I wanted to keep it unmolested, keep it original, and just enjoy driving it for what it was designed for. The history of this truck is pretty neat. It was actually purchased by a gentleman back in 1983. He ordered this from the factory, as the story goes. It was basically a farm truck. No modifications to it. It's got the same original small block Chevy 305 with a 4-barrel Rochester, so it's all factory. That truck basically stayed in the same area for its entire life. It's clean. I've just been basically doing a little bit of knocking the ugly out. I had a guy come in and basically put a buffer and some rubbing compound on it, and you know, it's not meant to be pretty, but it definitely brought out the finish and the original paint. New tires, new shocks, tore the old exhaust out and put a real truck exhaust on it, ripped the catalytic converter out. The project as far as the exterior is just, again, to kind of leave it all original. I like the dings, I like the scratches. The inside's been was pretty much showing its age, so I've had to redo the seats, the headliners. Got some help today from the guy behind the camera here to redo the carpet, which was much appreciated. The last project is to just kind of refit the dash out and clean up all the bits and rebuild the door hardware. There were two versions of carpet kits for these trucks, and I wasn't aware of it. I mistakenly ordered a carpet kit for what's called a high tunnel or tall tunnel, which was really designed for manual transmissions. When I put it in, I couldn't figure out why I had so much extra carpet on the tunnel, and did a little research and found out that I ordered the wrong freaking carpet. So I ordered the right one, and again, with the help of my son, we took out the seat, took out the old carpet today, and put the new carpet in, which fits great, and it was factory OEM color and spec. And I got to admit that the carpet went in extremely easy and was molded and fitted perfectly for this truck. If I was looking at how I worked on these vehicles back in the day compared to how I'm now working on these vehicles 30 plus years later, I would tell my younger self to be more patient and not try and rush through these projects. One thing I have learned over life, and it's not even just vehicles, it's with everything, be comfortable doing what you can do and know when to walk away from those projects that you know you're really not capable of doing. But at the same time, I also have a lot of respect for people who at least try, right? Know when to give up and know when to go in and tackle it. I started working on cars actually in high school. For those younger people watching this, back in my day, we actually had shop class where we could bring our vehicles into a real automotive shop at the high school. I remember the shop we had, I think, 3 or 4 hydraulic lifts. We basically could tear vehicles down and rebuild vehicles completely from the ground up. But that's also back when you could pretty much work on vehicles yourself, unlike how they're built and designed today. Again, my first two vehicles being early 70s Chevy K5 trucks. They were super easy to work on. When you pop the hood on this thing, there's so much room in there, you could literally sit on the fender well and work on the motor, which I remember doing back in the day. So the simplicity of these vehicles makes it a joy to work on. Being a biased parent, I'm extremely proud of Connor's drive to take on these projects, and the Prelude has been a lot of fun to watch because basically, while this is a project truck, I would say the Prelude is a tenfold bigger project vehicle than certainly this thing is. So it's been kind of a joy for me to watch him take such an interest in, working on the Prelude and not being afraid to take on any aspect of a project. making mistakes along the way, just like I do, and then realizing and fixing the mistakes and understanding and learning from it. It's a great life lesson. Honestly, it's been fun, and I enjoy watching Connor's videos and look forward to seeing what the end result is. So if I could have a dream vehicle to get to own or work on, something I actually looked into a couple of years ago was to bring over an old late 80s, early 90s Land Rover D90 Defender, preferably something that came from the military surplus. I've always loved having four-wheel drives, and I've had an affinity for Land Rovers and the story behind Land Rover. Not a big fan of the newer ones as much. I love the older ones, and if I guess could afford to bring one over, I'd love to have a right-hand drive diesel D90, a military surplus, and build it and make it my own. I'm Steven. This is my 1983 Chevy Silverado C10 Fleetwood. Thanks for watching.